Hey folks, we've had some requests to make some how to punch a pillow videos. So today I'm going to do my best to demonstrate how to make this whale pillow designed by Sarah Howard. She'd done one for her kids and I really liked it, so we're partnering with her to sell this as a pillow kit. So I've punched the one side yesterday just so that I could speak a little bit more clearly when we do the second side today, which will be punched in reverse of the first side. So what you need is, and we'll provide this with our kits when we sell them, is the proper yarn in the right lengths, number 10 punch needle, some embroidery scissors. I keep a little tin for snipping all the end bits, which I later use for stuffing the pillow, and we highly recommend gripper strip frame for this project. You can punch most of it with only attaching it once, just the tail has to be reattached later. You could do it on a hoop, but it's going to be harder to keep it drum tight. So we recommend the gripper strip frame for this. Any size that you have should work. All right, so I'll say goodbye and we'll start filming. Got our pattern drawn on the monk's cloth. We've finished the edges for the most part with a blanket stitch. As you can see here, if you don't do that, monk's cloth frays a lot. So you want to have it about 5 inches longer than your frame so you can pull it nice and tight. So I want to get as much as I can in one pass. So I'm putting this spout or the snout, what do we call that part? Because the spout would have been there, as close to the edge as possible. So to get it tight, you want to pull in the middle of each side as tight as you can, and then you're going to start pulling opposite. This is where you need the extra inches so it can grip onto those. Opposite. And once you feel you've got it pretty much in place, you're going to work on straightening your lines up so your pattern stays true to form. This is where a hoop makes it so much more difficult. On a large frame you can see what you're doing. The good monk's cloth has these nice white lines, and that really helps you with the straightening. Punch needle's really forgiving, so you don't have to be perfect. But you still might as well start off giving yourself the best odds. Alright, see you when we start punching. Now that we've got it onto the frame, we want to make sure it's drum tight, so it feels super secure, the lines are straight. I like to start punching with the outside border, so we're going to start with the blue. And for the pillow, because it's going to be used a lot, it's different than a wall hanging. I like to work with longer pieces, so I'm leaving it attached to the ball. If I'm doing a wall hanging or something with lots of colors, I might cut myself little strands. Oh, I didn't show you how to thread your punch needle. So you just push your end from the opening side out, pull, glide down the shaft so it nests in there. Then you're just going to pull back and forth till it's loosely inside the shaft. You want to make sure it's nice and loose so it's going to move on its own when you're punching, and just leave a little tail. So I like to have as few strands as possible on a pillow, so that's why I'm starting on the outside here. I'm going to start at this beginner line on the fin, and we're just push all the way down, lift up, all the way down, lift up, and it just glides along the top. Always move forward with the shaft opening, and always have your yarn trailing loose behind the end there. So here we're going to turn a corner, leave your punch needle in the fabric, and just do a slight angle. I prefer using a frame that's not on a stand, because when I punch upside down like this, it's really easy to turn. And you can punch in the opposite direction, but I tend to move my piece. Now I go by feel rather than counting, but you can see that the stitches are pretty much the same size. It looks like I'm moving about two to three holes over. And that's just where it naturally, comfortably fits. If it's too far away, you'll get a huge stitch. If it's too close, you'll have a harder time punching. Getting to a turn there, so again we just turn the needle in the direction we're going to punch, pivot my frame around. I like to rest it against a table and my knees. So okay, I'll come back when we switch to another color then. Okay, so I got the first blue outline punched, stopped right at the edge of the frame. So pull your needle up, trim it, and then you're just going to push it through to the front side. So most of you know for punch needle we punch, or at least for this pillow, we punch from the back to the front. So I usually wait till the end to trim these off, but just for demo I'll trim them now, just flush with the loops, and then I keep these in a little tin and we'll use them to stuff the pillow later. So now what I want to do is the black eye, because the blue's going to pass it. So we'll pull out the blue. Once again, thread this needle. Fred pointed out that some of you may not know that the opening side I'm calling the shaft, or the shaft opening. So again, we thread the eye, line it up through the shaft, and glide it through. So this is a larger eye, so I'm going to start on the outside of it, and it's pretty round. It's large enough so I'll be able to go around the whole outside. I'm going to kind of make a spiral. That took me 7 punches to get to the outside, so now I'm going to spiral in. 3. Looks like matter if the eye pops out a little bit more, that might be nice. So we trim that. Push the ends through. The end's a bit long. You're just pushing it through the hole that you started in. And that's what it looks like on this side. So we pull up the large end pieces and trim them, and it'll get into a tighter eye shape once we add the blue. Okay, so for the next row of blue, I'm going to follow the outline. It's going to start a little bit above there. And I don't want my stitches to stack, so I'm going to try my best to alternate them and change the size a little bit. So the first row was pretty tight, so I'm going to make the second row, make the stitches a little longer. And move the shaft in the direction that you're traveling, direction that you're punching. Fred, if you can do a close-up so they can see the difference in the stitch sizes. So we don't want them to stack like towers. We want them to lay more like bricks. So that's why I'm making the second row stitches a little bit longer. It's not as critical on a piece with curved lines if you're doing large straight areas. You would really notice it if your stitches stacked up. Here, just do your best to alternate a little bit. Okay, so to do the eye, I choose to go around it one time with the blue. So just make a complete circle around it. And then because it's a pillow and I'm trying to minimize my ends and have as long of strands as possible, what I'll do is just punch each row up to the eye, end it, and start again on the other side of the eye. So try and hurry and get there so you don't have to. So we end it there with one long strand, and then we'll start here. Okay, so I got as much blue done in this section as I could. Went pretty much as close to the bar as I could. I wanted to shape the fin a little bit, so I'll do that later. So here's the finished side. I've got the trimming done. So because it's a pillow and I want the borders as secure as possible, I'm going to punch from the outer edge again. So start right up here, matching as close as I can to the blue. Okay, so